What's going on, guys? How things can change in the blink of an eye. Only 4 years ago, a 26-year-old Cam Newton was embarking on an MVP season that would see him take the Carolina Panthers all the way to Super Bowl 50. Fast forward to today, and it seems like Newton's tenure with the Panthers has all but surely come to an end. The younger, healthier Kyle Allen has performed nicely in his place. It'll be hard for the Panthers to choose Newton over Allen at this point, even if the former has done so much to help make this team a consistent contender in the NFC throughout his career. So with the writing seemingly on the wall, it's probably a good time to start talking about where Cam Newton might land next. Here are 8 teams that should trade for Cam Newton in the offseason. Make sure to subscribe to TPS, put on your notifications as well because we post videos all the time. New videos all the time. Number 8, Detroit Lions. The Lions are extremely loyal to Matthew Stafford, and for good reason. Without him, Detroit would consistently hover near the bottom of the league standings. But as good as Stafford is, he hasn't been able to take the Lions to the promised land. In fact, they haven't won a single playoff game with him at the helm. The Lions remain one of the most frustrating organizations in all of sports. So at what point do ownership and management say enough is enough? Major changes are needed. The Lions are probably the worst team in their own division right now. And maybe upgrading a quarterback is all it will take to help the Lions finally emerge as a contender. Stafford puts up better stats than Newton. Sure, no denying that. But Super Cam is the better performer and the more clutch quarterback. This guy has taken Carolina to the playoffs 4 times. Even taking them to Super Bowl 50. Newton's dual threat style might be a better fit for the Lions offense that has a nice balance. Imagine him in that offense with running back Kerryon Johnson and stud pass catchers Marvin Jones, Kenny Galladay, and TJ Hockenson. This is nothing against Stafford, but after a decade at the helm, it's clear that he isn't capable of taking the Lions to another level. For what it's worth, I mean, he's also 1 year older than Newton. It's not really that big of a deal, but Stafford himself doesn't have a clean history either in regards to health. He's been beat up a good amount as well. Add it all up and it makes good sense for the Lions to explore the possibility of replacing Stafford with Newton. Number 7, New England Patriots. Guys, this only applies if Tom Brady winds up leaving the Patriots. Remember, there are reports that TB12 could be gone after the 2019 season. ESPN insider Adam Schefter actually believes it's quite likely to happen. So let's just pretend that Brady and Bill Belichick part ways. Okay, so what should Belichick do about quarterback? Does he roll with Jarrett Stidham, whom the Patriots took in the 4th round of the 2019 draft? That's an option. After all, we've seen Belichick's quarterback prospects turn out nicely. Just look at Jacoby Brissett and Jimmy Garoppolo. Both good examples. But maybe Belichick just wants to go with a proven winner and veteran quarterback to take over. As good as Stidham might be, there's no guarantee that he reaches Newton's supreme level of dominance. The Patriots have turned into a pretty run-heavy team over these past couple of years with James White and Sony Michel. Imagine Newton fitting in that offense. Behind a solid New England offensive line, this Patriots offense would reach another level. And of course, Newton is still fairly young by quarterback standards. He could be the ideal long-term solution in Foxborough. With a great coaching staff, the proper system, and plenty of offensive weapons around him, Newton would truly be a force with the Patriots. So if it's adios to number 12, then it may be all out of can. Number 6, Los Angeles Chargers. Same case here with the Patriots. Newton only makes sense for the Chargers if the organization moves on from its veteran quarterback, which it actually might. I mean, Phillip Rivers is a good quarterback. We all know he is, but he's just not strong enough to push them all the way every year. Rivers is slated to hit free agency in 2020, and you can't help but wonder if the two sides will be ready for a split. Rivers isn't getting any younger, and he's got 9 kids. I mean, 9 kids tires you out, and the Chargers might want to build around a fresh face with less wear on his treads. There are plenty of great QB prospects available in the 2020 draft. Or the Chargers may look to acquire a veteran signal caller like Andy Dalton or Marcus Mariota. I mean, they could work, but do you really have faith in them? Maybe Mariota. I don't know. As for Rivers, he may simply have the desire to join a better constructed team that could help him win another Super Bowl ASAP. The Chargers just can't get over the hump with this guy. They're snake bitten. Maybe some change of scenery will lead to some serendipity for Rivers and the Chargers. So if Rivers is out, then the Chargers should focus entirely on landing Newton. The knock against Rivers, of course, is that he hasn't been money in the postseason. He's only taken the Chargers to 1 AFC Championship game in his entire career. Newton, meanwhile, is simply a far more clutch quarterback than Rivers. And since he's won plenty of big games in his life, there's good reason to think that Newton would help the Chargers finally get over all their playoff heartbreak. Newton, Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry, and that crowded backfield all on the same offense. That could be something else. Number 5, Indianapolis Colts. The Colts have a potential franchise quarterback in Jacoby Brissett, who has replaced Andrew Luck nicely in Indy. But even though Brissett looks capable of handling the long-term starting duties, we gotta be real here. He's not on Newton's level, and he will probably never be. And that's not a knock against Brissett. It's just that Newton has proven before that he can be an MVP caliber quarterback. Colts head coach Frank Reich has proven to be a crafty offensive mind. If he can get good numbers out of Brissett, just imagine what he could do with Newton leading the charge. And it's not like the Colts owe Brissett a lot of money. His contract runs up after the 2020 season, so the cap space is there for them to land Newton. Plus, GM Chris Ballard might fetch an early round pick if he decides to trade Brissett. The Colts have one of the most talented young rosters in football, and their Super Bowl window will be open for a long time. Brissett looks capable of taking them there, but Newton is a top 10 quarterback when healthy. I'm not trying to sound like a salesman here or anything, but I mean, like, why settle on good when you can find great at a bargain price? The Colts may as well take a shot on Newton and see what Cam has to offer. For all we know, he's the final piece in turning them into one of the premier AFC Super Bowl contenders. Number 4, Denver Broncos. Death, taxes, and the Denver Broncos searching for a new quarterback every year, ever since Peyton Manning retired in 2016. Broncos GM John Elway has failed miserably in finding the next franchise signal caller. Trevor Siemian, Paxton Lynch, Brock Osweiler, Case Keenum, and Joe Flacco were all major disappointments. So Elway's going to go back to the drawing board once again in 2020. Though he could look at landing one of the top QB prospects in the draft. Elway might be better off making a play for the 2015 league MVP. The Broncos boast 2 elite pass rushers in Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. They have a great set of weapons in Phillip Lindsay, Courtland Sutton, and Noah Fant. Courtland Sutton has been doing fantastic for my fantasy. Like, he's not a top guy, but he's very consistent in what he puts up each week. But really, the pieces are there for the Broncos to be a championship contender. They just need a quarterback to help them reach that level again. There's no doubt that Newton would flourish in Denver's offense here, and having Lindsay to power the rushing game would help nicely. Elway has displayed time and time again that the Broncos aren't capable of developing quarterbacks. Even before they landed Manning in 2012 free agency, Denver had spent several years failing to develop its quarterbacks. No point in risking the possibility of wasting another first or second round pick when the Broncos can make a play for a proven star in Newton. Just Manning it, really. Elway should be feeling the heat as the Broncos continue to track towards the bottom of the league standings. Maybe the hot seat will force Elway to make a big move, which could mean bringing in Newton. Number 3, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay, so even offensive guru Bruce Arians couldn't fix Jameis Winston. That means it's time for the Buccaneers to move on from the first overall pick from 2015. The pieces are there on both sides of the ball for Tampa Bay to be a playoff contender. Mike Evans is a beast. Cam would do so well with him. Winston puts up good stats, but he's just not a winner because he'll simply never learn how to cut down the turnovers. Unless the Buccaneers are planning to tank for a lengthy period, Winston will be a goner in 2020. Now the Panthers may be hesitant to trade Newton inside the division. That means the Buccaneers would have to piece together an enticing trade package. If the Panthers receive the best offer from the Buccaneers, they just might go for it. And with a great head coach, a handful of young stars, and the need to simply do something drastic, Tampa Bay shouldn't be afraid to give up whatever it takes to land Newton. Just think about what Newton could do in that Tampa Bay offense. We've already mentioned Evans, and with Arians calling the shots, sign us up 1,000,000 times. There's no doubt that Tampa Bay would love to add Newton. The only sticking point here would be if Carolina refused to do business with an NFC South rival. I mean, I'd feel sketchy about it. Number 2, Tennessee Titans. On paper, the Titans have the makings to be a Super Bowl contender. Mike Vrabel's defense is one of the nastiest in the NFL. Of course, Derrick Henry is also one of the most productive and powerful running backs in the game right now. A.J. Brown, Delaney Walker, and Corey Davis round out a nice group of pass catchers. And when they're healthy, Tennessee's O-line is among the league's best as well. So why aren't the Titans capable of reaching the big game? Simply put, it's the mediocre play at quarterback. Marcus Mariota, the number 2 pick from 2015. He was never able to reach the level they had hoped. He's merely average. And merely average isn't good enough in the NFL. Ryan Tannehill isn't a long-term answer in Tennessee either. If the Titans really want to emerge as a prime contender in a difficult AFC South division, they need a proven above-average quarterback. Newton would be a spectacular fit in Tennessee's run-heavy offense. Him and Henry working together in the ground game, that'd be downright unstoppable. Look at all 32 teams in the NFL, and perhaps no team is a better fit for Newton than the Titans. From an offensive system standpoint at least. Newton along with Henry and this dominant defense would certainly lead Tennessee closer to a Super Bowl. It's honestly a move they have to make. Number 1, Chicago Bears. I actually really like this one. From 12 wins and an NFC North Division title in 2018 to complete mediocrity a year later. It's not acceptable in the Windy City. Not one bit. Chicago's defense is arguably the best in the NFL. They have a great set of offensive weapons in Allen Robinson, David Montgomery, and Tariq Cohen. There is no way the Bears should be this mediocre. Sorry to be harsh, but Mitch Trubisky is really holding this team back. The number 2 pick from 2017 has shown for 3 years now that he is just not the answer in Chicago. Do the Bears want to make the same mistake as Tampa Bay and Tennessee did with Winston and Mariota, where they refused to admit they were wrong? The Bears really should be a top-tier NFL team over the long haul, given their incredibly talented roster, but they won't go far without an upgraded quarterback. Replace Trubisky with Newton. and it changes everything. Chicago's offense would be a top-tier unit. You throw in that defense, and you have a near-complete team that would absolutely terrorize the NFC. Newton could be the answer for Bears head coach Matt Nagy. The pieces are there for this offense to be elite under Cam, and if Chicago acquires him, they'll be a force to be reckoned with for many years to come. Where do you think Cam Newton will land in 2019? Join me in the comment section below. Make sure to follow myself and TPS on social media. We post great content all the time. I make TikToks, and we got Instagram, Twitter, memes, everything. Go subscribe and follow. If you like this video, give it a like. It takes one click right down there. Make sure to subscribe to TPS because we post videos all the time. New videos all the time. Of course, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jason Biondo.
My knee.